Hey y'all, welcome to the Big Mama Was Wrong podcast. I'm your host Marisha, and here we dive into wellness and growth surrounding mental health and culture. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, it's another episode of Big Mama Was Wrong. Thank you for joining. Today I have another guest. It is Mr. Blaise Harris, who is better known and also known as the Dope Black Therapist. Hey Blaise, thank you so much for coming today.
Hey, thank you for having me. Always excited to have a conversation with you. So thank you for having me.
So can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, and then we'll introduce the topic and we'll hop into the conversation.
Yes, ma'am. Let's get into it. My name is Blaise Harris. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor associate, also a licensed clinical addiction specialist. I have my own practice, G Squared Consulting and Counseling Services, and speaker, author, single father of two, just doing my own thing, trying to survive in a world that might not appreciate me the way that I would like to be appreciated in this world. So, we trying to spread some love and trying to share some information and just try to help brothers and everybody just to work through their stuff and just get to a better spot. That's what I'm here for.
Nice. So today we're going to be talking, the name of the title of this episode is It's Not an Attitude. And we want to explore how anxiety and depression shows up in Black folks. So that's what we'll be exploring today. Blaise primarily works with or specializes with men. So that's really what we want to hone in on and drop some gems. So that's what we are today. That's what we'll be doing.
Okay.
I think one of the things about myself is, I would say, before becoming a clinician and where I am now, have you ever had times before you were a clinician, like if you think back to your adolescent years, early adulthood, childhood, you saw things that now that you're a clinician, you're like, that's what that was. Like it just makes so much more sense.
There were several times, I was raised by my grandmother, and my grandmother, it's like, I felt like she was always angry. Like I felt like she was always angry, and it's like, because I would get whoopings for like no reason sometimes. And it's just like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. And it's just like, I remember one time specifically, she was upset about something and I said, oh, let me fix it before, you get upset. She said, I want to fuss. I was like, oh, okay. And it's just like, and I was like, why is she always so angry? Why is she so upset? Why is she just, why does she take all of this stuff out of me? Why is she picking on me? And it's just like, I got older and I did my study, becoming a clinician and everything. And I was just like, wow, she was dealing with so many things that I had no clue about. The fact that she was a single parent. I'm a single parent now. I know how stressful that is. She worked at a job that she didn't like she hated it. And sometimes she was working two jobs. And she was stressed out, and us not cleaning the room or us not doing something, that she asked us to do, while small in our minds, was huge to hers because she was stressed out to the max, and I see that now, as, like I said, as a single father and someone who had a job that he didn't like doing, and, and it was, I understand the stress. At the same time, though, I don't take my frustrations out on my kids like she took it out on me.
Right.
And that's one of those bigger things. Is just like, she didn't have time to coddle or understand what's going on with me or ask me what's going on about my day, because she was working two jobs and trying to figure out how to, keep the lights on and make sure we were fed and doing all this other type of stuff. Whereas now it's just like, if my kids, I can tell when something's wrong with my kids.
Right.
And I'll pull them to the side. We'll have these conversations, and it's just like, they will break down in there. It's like pulling teeth sometimes. But both have told me that they feel more comfortable talking to me about the issues than talking to, their mom.
Okay.
And it's just like, okay, why? They said, because the both of them said, I feel like you understand me.
Clutch.
I feel like you understand me. And it's just like, while, I'm trying not to like pat myself on the back and say, hey, I got this. I'm the better parent. I can't do that. And, at the same time, it's just like, that says something. the fact that they feel comfortable talking to me about this stuff, and it's just like they tell me things like, I like being over here because you play with me, you make time for me.
So
And
they feel seen.
Yeah, and that's something that I did not get a lot of. I didn't feel seen by my grandma. I felt like I felt seen if I didn't make a good grade.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's the only time I felt like I was seen. It's like if I made a good grade, but if I did something well, okay, just what you're supposed to do. Not really celebrate it. And it's like it's different because it's just like I think that's one of those things. It's one of those generational things that's coming up. Because they never received it.
Right.
Growing up, like my grandma was born in the 40s. So yeah, my grandma was born in the 40s. So and her mom was born in like 1921. So they were coming up in like a completely different time.
Big time.
There was no time to feel. There was no, you better go to work. We got to do as much as we can to be sure that this house is running.
Right.
I don't care what you feel. I don't got time to hug you. I don't got time to kiss you. I don't got time to tell you I love you. We have to work. And like you think about all that kind of stuff with segregation. They're telling me about growing up with segregation and all that type of stuff. And it was like it was a completely different time than what it is now. So and I have more of an appreciation for what she went through and why she raised us the way that she did. I don't hold that resentment anymore. However, I understand.
Right.
I understand now.
So with you now that you see some of the times that your grandma seemed like she was in an ill mood, or from the country, we say, "Oh, she ill," but she was in a bad mood or ill-tempered, impatient. Do you realize now, like, oh, she was stressed? That was anxiety and possibly depression.
And I imagine it was a bit of both. She was a widower.
So is your grandma still alive?
Do
you talk to her now as a clinician? Do you talk to her about processing feelings? Not even necessarily like, I wish you would have done this differently, but just moving forward, like, Grandma, this is what I noticed. This is what I know as a clinician. Do you have those type of talks with her now?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore. Because it's hard for me not to tell them about themselves when they ask me questions.
From your clinical lens. Yeah. Okay. I understand that.
So it's just like, I can't, I'm not going to answer, do you want to know? Can I say, or do you want me to sugarcoat it? Because it's like, if I tell them, like, I remember telling her, she responded, like she asked about her sisters or some of her siblings and stuff who deal with mental health issues, right? Dealing with their own mental illnesses, right? And she said, well, we all grew up in the same household. Well, why some of us act like this and why some of us don't? And I said, you act like that too, but you just show it in a different way. That's
like, insulting, low key, but you probably didn't mean to be insulting.
No.
I understand why that may be a little offensive.
And it came out, and this was when I was still angry with her too.
Oh, okay.
And it came out, and it's just like, I knew I should have stopped right then, but I
you took advantage of your platform.
And I did. I went a little bit deeper, and I shouldn't have. And I apologized for it. And I said, and like she told me, like one of the things she said was like, I don't care if you don't bring them kids around here no more. Like she said that to me, and I was just like, now you see what you did. She's like, you see what you did. That's like
blame shifting. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, you got it. I was like, you got it. And I was trying to use it as a moment to show her how she uses her anger, like, and expresses that. And it's like, she wasn't trying to hear that. She just looked at me as being disrespectful.
Right. And it could have been the timing too, because the emotions were already flaring.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is it's like, it was difficult. I mean, she pretty much told me that she wouldn't care if she saw my children anymore. That hurt.
But we both know that she didn't mean
it. Yeah. I know it still hurt.
Yeah.
Like, just like she ain't mean. It's like, it's gonna hurt you more than it hurt me when she hit me with that switch. No, it ain't.
It definitely doesn't.
No, it is not.
It definitely does not hurt them more than they hurt.
I'm the one with the welts.
That part. That part. Yeah. Okay. So I saw this post recently and it said it was basically the picture showed a black couple, so I'm thinking it was geared towards black couples, but it said something along the lines of you thinking you have a dude with anger problems, but he really has autism.
Mm.
And it was like, obviously, a lot of people were like, oh, ha ha. But when I was looking at it and I thought about it, I'm like,
Mm.
you know what? That's
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 strong,
possible.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's possible. Even if it's not autism, I've seen for myself after I became a clinician and I considered like people that I've encountered that were quick tempered,
Mm-hmm.
aggressive, not towards me, but just
Mm-hmm.
they weren't going to stand for another man crossing them or
Mm-hmm.
coming at them any kind of way, or
Mm-hmm.
just wondering like, why do you feel like you have to flip tables to prove a point?
Mm-hmm.
Once I became a clinician, even though it may not have been autism, I'm like, that could have been depression
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
anxiety or trauma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. So it's like I know when people think about depression, they automatically go to sadness, right?
Right.
They go that's what it is. It's like, oh, depressed mood, melancholy, suicidal ideations, all these different types of things. But, you know, what I've learned as a clinician is this like depression shows up as anger in men.
Uh-huh.
And it's a whole lot of angry dudes in this world.
Uh-huh.
You think about it because we're not allowed to express sadness,
Uh-huh.
because it's weak.
Yeah.
And what do they tell us that a little, stop crying before I give you something to cry about.
Or start crying
Big
like a little girl.
big boys don't cry and all this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And so it's just like you're supposed to suppress these emotions all the time. It's just like you're and then you're supposed to and
Right.
suck it up and just like stop right then and there. You can't, that's the
Uh-huh.
thing. And it's just like so we're taught at a young age just to keep it to ourselves. And so we just keep bottling it up and bottling it up and bottling it up and push it down, push it down, and push it down. And then somebody comes by and says, "Hey, Blaise, how you doing? Get on my face before I start. I slap the mess out you." And it's just
Uh-huh.
like, you ain't even mad at that person. You're not even mad at that person. You're mad at something that happened, yesterday, last year, last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever. And it's just like all this stuff that you have suppressed because you're not supposed to let things bother you. It comes out. And then it's just like, as a black man, definitely not allowed to be angry. I can't
Right.
because if I'm angry, I might not make it home.
Right.
And so but then like that, then it's just like then you have another conundrum. It's just like I'm angry because I can't be angry.
Right.
So what am I supposed to do?
That's true.
Who am I supposed to talk to? And it's just like I feel like I'm alone.
Uh-huh.
I'm like nobody understands me. And it's just like I'm supposed to carry this burden with me all of the time, and I'm supposed to be this big strong rock, and nothing
Uh-huh.
is ever 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 supposed to affect me. And it's just like the reality is it does, and the reality is it affects how we make our decisions, how we interact with people, how we sleep. It affects our appetite, all these different types of things, and it's just like we see all these things going on, and it's like, oh well, this nothing, and we just minimize it,
Uh-huh.
and it's just like, nah, it's just like, but then you also think about it, it's just like I have to go into this space with a bunch of people who don't understand me. Say if you're going out with your homeboys, or you're going to meet different people, and it's just like, oh, Blaise always got an attitude when he goes out. So well, why is his face all turned up, and why is he doing all of this? And it's just like it ain't an attitude, yo. It's just like what I'm doing is just like one, I'm surveying everything that's around me.
Right.
I'm surveying everybody that's around me. I don't know these people. What
Uh-huh.
are they going to cause any kind of harm to me? If I say something, if I bump into them accidentally, is something going to pop off? Are they going to fear for their life? Or are they going to think that I'm this? Or are they going to think I'm dead?
Uh-huh.
And then it's just like my social is like I'm already amped up because I'm going out in public, and I look like this, the big old dude with beard and tattoos and all this type of stuff. I'm a teddy bear, but people don't know that.
Right.
So, and it's just like I have to be mindful of how I speak, what I wear. If I have to make myself smaller to make other people feel safer.
Do you feel like that plays into social anxiety at all?
I do. I do because it's just like, why would I want to go out and deal with people when I can just stay in my house?
Sure.
Why I want to go and like, and it's like, it's one of those things. It's just like the older I get, the less I like big crowds and noise.
Really?
Yeah. And it's just like, and I think I come to this conclusion because for years, like coming up in elementary, middle, and high school, I was always the center of attention,
Okay.
because I was trying to get attention from my grandmother. I wanted her to notice me. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind being in the spotlight because back then I felt like if everybody was looking at me and if everybody's paying attention to me, that I would somehow get her love and her attention and get that affection that I so long for.
Right.
And the older that I get now, it's like I don't want that anymore. I want to be able to be subdued. I want to be able to be okay. I want to be able to be Blaise without having to be so loud and so, hey, look at me, pay attention to me and all this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And so it's just like, well, now it's just like that social anxiety. It's just like I don't want to be, I don't want to shine a light. I don't want to shine an unnecessary light on myself.
I get that. So, someone asked me a few years ago, it was their theory. They pretty much asked me if I agreed or disagreed with it. What they were saying that they feel Black men should get mental health for free. Mental health
Mm,
services. They felt that Black men should get mental health services for free.
mm.
Would you say, what are your thoughts on that?
The I want to say yes.
Okay.
I want to say yes, but then it's just like trying to the best way to justify it, about it because it's just like you think about it, it's just like if that's the case, if it's just Black men, it's like all right, then for sure Black women should get it too. It's just like, but then I won't get on this whole tirade like, man, healthcare, everything should be free.
Yeah, right.
so,
It is a
so
very delicate balance. But
yeah,
my response was similar to yours in that I said, okay, I can see where you're going, but if that's the case, then Black women should get it too. Not
hmm
even being a feminist or
hmm hmm
anything even remotely close to that, but just Black women
yeah,
experience stuff too. So
yeah,
if you're looking at stuff like people who say generational trauma dating back
hmm
from the slave trade
hmm
or slavery, and then the
hmm
Jim Crow era, et cetera, and then
hmm
you have these mentalities that have molded child rearing for
hmm
decades and
yep,
centuries, then
hmm
both genders should definitely be considered for it.
exactly, and that's the thing. So it's just like I think about Black women and how much like y'all are like the strongest, most beautiful women on this daggone planet, and y'all have to deal with so much. And it's just like I always think about the Scandal episode with Papa Pope talking to Olivia. You always have to work twice as hard
Yes,
to be
yes,
half
yes.
as good.
Right, right, right.
And I trust you, Olivia. You have to do this, and da da da
Yeah.
da. And this is like just that pressure,
Mm-hmm.
just to be whatever. It's like y'all are carrying the world on your back,
I agree.
and it's just like you don't get the recognition for it. And even like so, even going back to let's say let's take it back to like Jim Crow and all of that stuff, and think about like civil rights movement and Dr. King being like the head of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having Coretta right by his side. When you think about the stuff that she had to deal with
Yeah.
while he was doing all of his stuff. Let's do all of this and do all of this, and then like the rumors of him being, promiscuous outside of all that kind of stuff too. And it's just like she has to carry that too and still be honorable wife, mother, and take care of all of the stuff that everybody's doing. And it's like, and even think about, Betty Shabazz and what she was doing with Malcolm and all this stuff she had to just like, yo, look at how strong these women are.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how strong, look at all of this stuff. And then I think about like women like Angela Davis and what she was doing, like during, yo, it's so many Black women who were, if it wasn't for Black women, a lot of us wouldn't be where we are today.
I can agree with that. I can agree. I feel very strongly like society has totem poles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where, you have the dominant culture, the dominant ethnicities, where it's male, then female. But then, like, at the bottom of the totem pole, I feel that a lot of times Black women are considered last. And so it does come with its pressures, because you don't have to just worry about discrimination in a sense of, like, even in the workplace, if you're considering just salaries, right? You're not just in competition with another woman. You would hope that you're in competition with other males in a dominant culture, but you're not always quote unquote competition for them, because it's kind of like they got a head start, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you think about pressures like that, when you think about women, because a lot of the Black homes, even though the marriage rate is going up, it's a lot of Black women out here doing their thing, being single parents, maybe whether it's to one kid, a few kids, or multiple kids, that has its own pressures. And so that doesn't include history of trauma. It doesn't include stress from not knowing exactly who they are, not understanding why they respond to situations the way that they do. Genetic factors like maybe bipolar disorder or other illnesses have been, like, passed down. That doesn't even include those things, those the internal factors. And so I look at Black women whenever they're considered as being attitudinal, and I don't justify it, but I understand the underlying issues. Like, in most cases, Black women are dealing with a lot.
Absolutely.
Because if they're not taking care of the home, it could be misconstrued as lazy or sorry or a gold digger, or it's like there's not a lot of gray areas for it to be interpreted in any other way outside of those extremes. Black men, the Black men the same way. Don't let it be a Black stay-at-home dad, or he's catching slack.
Oh yeah, he ain't there. He ain't nothing. Why don't he go work? It's his job to go out and make this and do all this providing. And it goes back to, like, the old school, like the gender roles, and like women should be here, men should be here, and this is the way it is. There's no in between. There's no gray.
Right.
And then it's just like, well, then you want the woman to go to work and work all these hours and then come home and cook for you too? What are you doing? And da 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 da. It's just like so, go on. The
pressure. It's like for Black men. I think I won't say I understand. I say outside of being a clinician, I understand the same way that I can say I understand why Black women experience depression and anxiety. I also believe I understand why Black men experience, just like you said, just I know how I feel walking into certain stores and people feeling like they have to follow me or they're going to watch me more closely. I'm not the person you need to be watching when you go in stores, but because of how I look, it's perceived that way. Or for a really long time, I used to sit with my fingers interlocked on the desk as a professional, but in reality, I talk with my hands all the time. But I had to learn how to stop talking with my hands because it was perceived as me being attitudinal or aggressive, when really it's just my way of expressing, not rolling my eyes, not rolling my neck or anything, just using my hands. And so if I feel that way as a woman, then I can only imagine how you all feel as men. Especially if you're not the type that smiles. Like you just have your resting face. You may come off as a mean mug or something like that, and it's not even in that ballpark.
No, and that's the unfortunate part. It's like, we're judged way often before people even know us. And that's really unfortunate. And I think that's one of the reasons why it took me so long to embrace who I am as a clinician. Because, I remember when I was in school, I cuss a lot, and I can speak properly and I can carry myself extremely well, but I'm working with Black men and first responders. I want to be able to be me, and I want them to be able to relate to what's going on with me. It's just like I had a professor tell me once, it's like, man, you talk like this, nobody's going to take you seriously. Another brother. And I was just sitting there, it's just like, man, that's like, I'm sitting in during my internship doing therapy, and I'm sitting there, just like, sitting there proper like this the whole time, and it's just like, didn't get anything out of my clients. But then when I was Blaise, everything just like started to open up. And so like when I show up, I'll show up I show up with my Nikes on. I have a t-shirt on, I have a hat on, and we just sit there and we're just sitting there talking and having a conversation. And it helps break down those walls, just helps break down those walls of communication, but also breaks down those barriers of, okay, this dude is just not going to sit here and just ask me how I feel all day. He's actually talking to me like I'm a person.
Right.
And like, how many brothers don't experience that? And it's like, I tell people all the time, it's like, well, if I need to talk about stuff, I just go to the barbershop. I was like, okay, let me ask you a question. So I know I can shape my beard up and I can give myself, I can shave my head. Do you want me to cut your hair? And every other client that comes into this barbershop, they're like, nah. Why? Because you only know how to do a couple of things. Exactly.
Right.
It's just like, just because I can shape up my beard and give myself a bald, it don't mean I can give you a fade.
Right.
And just because a barber can talk to you about what's going on with you personally, does that barber know what to do if you talk about suicide?
Right.
Is that barber trauma informed so he can pick up on certain cues that let him know that you might need to talk to somebody else besides him or her or them, And the same thing with going to church. And it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to go to my pastor and talk about it. It's like, okay, I can give you, a couple of scriptures.
Not scriptures.
I can give you a couple of scriptures, but do you want me to preach to your flock every Sunday just because I know a couple of scriptures? I'm like, no. You want somebody who knows what they're doing and talking about it. And while your pastor may know a few things, your pastor don't know everything about it. And it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist, just like it's okay to have a barber and a therapist.
Absolutely.
It's those same types of things. It's just like, I stay in my lane. I'm not gonna try to cross over and do something that I'm not qualified to do. And I think it's to be the same way in those areas, in those arenas. And I think that there's a lot of things happening now. I've spoken at a couple of churches on mental health, and they see how they can build upon each other. And I've had pastors tell me straight up, it's just like, yo, I don't know what to do with this. You need to talk to a professional about this. And there's certain things now, you can come talk to me. I'll pray with you and I'll pray for you, but you need to go talk about some other stuff to this professional who knows how to help you get to where you need to be. So, and that's one of those things. And I think it's just, I think we get so caught up in the I have to handle this on my own, or I have to handle this with people who know me. But you got to realize those people who know you probably got their own stuff that they're dealing with and don't know how to express it to you.
Or they may not have the capacity to deal with what they have going on as well as what it is that you're presenting to them, especially if you didn't check the temperature or kind of gauge before you just unload it.
Exactly.
What do you feel like what were some of your once you entered the field and you started working with Black people, Black men, what were some of the biggest surprises? If anything, what were you most surprised by?
How common it was for them to be afraid to talk about stuff.
That makes sense.
I was surprised. It's like, that was the first thing. It's just like, man, I don't talk about this. I don't talk to anybody about any of my feelings. I just keep it going. And it was like the same story. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know how to do this. And it's just like, when I started, one of the things that I started asking, how are you? And they didn't know how to answer the question. Like several of them will break down because it's like, nobody's asked me that. And it's just like, you're doing so much for folk and you're trying to be provider for folk, but nobody's asking you how you're doing, how you're coping.
That's interesting. So people who, like, based on your clients, if they're asking you, if they're being asked, how are you, is it generic or a masked response that they're saying like, oh, I'm fine, and then they're not really delving into, you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
So as a clinician, you get some of those ones that I'm fine. And I was like, how are you really? And that's when they start going into it. Because they know I told them, I said, I'll validate you, but I'll also call you out on your stuff. And I've seen several of my folks enough to know that when they bull jiving. And like, so when I call it they bull jive, that's when they start opening up.
Right.
I'm like, tell me what's really going on. But then those other ones is just like, sometimes it's like you can tell that they were just waiting for somebody to ask them how they were doing.
Right. That makes sense. So do you feel obligated to, or I'm not, maybe obligated isn't a word. Do you feel more of a drive to try to pull things out when you're encountering Black men because you feel like they may need it more? Or do you feel like your drive is just consistent regardless of the demographics?
I think, and you know what, I can't even lie. So yeah, I am more apt to dig a little bit deeper with my brothers because I know I being a brother myself, I know how easy it is to mask that.
Okay. So
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just like, and this is like I don't. I'm more inclined. I don't feel like I'm obligated. I feel like I'm more inclined to ask
Inclined.
them. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm more inclined to ask them because a lot of times it's just like they don't even know where to start.
Right. And that's, as a clinical supervisor, that's one of the things that I talk to the supervisees about is everyone that comes into therapy may not know how to get started. They may know that they need therapy. They may know that it will be helpful. And then they may have some sense of what they're supposed to do based off what they've heard, or maybe like if they've seen a TV show or movie or something like that. But aside from hello, my name is, they don't necessarily know what you're supposed to do next. Some of them may think you're just supposed to go in one session and just dump everything.
Yep.
Other people may wait for questions. And then some may just, I don't know you, you don't know me.
Yep.
I'm not telling you anything, but I know that I should be here. Like it's an array of expectations whenever you're coming into a clinician's office. So I understand that. I know that you do groups. If at all, do you feel like there's a variance in vulnerability between men being in a group and men coming in your office one-on-one?
That's a good question. Yes. I think in the group, they're more open to it because they see more than just me.
And so it makes them more comfortable. Okay.
Okay. It's not just because it's like you just doing it just like with one person. It's like, oh shoot. Like, but then it's just like when you're doing it with like say if you make when I make a really strong point in the group session and you can tell when it hits all of them. And it's like, and it hits, and it's like, because then they start taking the conversation on and leading for themselves. They start asking each other questions then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they start keep on going on that way. And I was like, oh yeah, we got something now. We got something now.
Right.
And it's like they start taking it along. It's like they start picking up from each other's story and adding to it, and or hey, well, this happened to me in this situation right here when I deal with this, and and da 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 da. And it's just like we've had some networking events where, well, not even like during the groups, like a brother's going through something and somebody's looking for a job or whatever, and somebody say, hey man, I got this right here going on. You should look into this, and you should look into this, and you should look into this. And it's just like, oh shoot, this is a for real network of people who are feeling what I'm feeling, and we're actually looking to help each other out.
Right.
And it's
I think I love that because I felt like, obviously I've never been in any of your groups, but I felt that it was going to go one of a few ways. One, people were going to get in there and kind of be tight mouth because they didn't know the person or didn't necessarily know the person next to them. It was either going to be a really bomb fireside chat where the vibes were just going to be really good and it would be a safe space, or it would be, you would have the talkers in the group where they kind of
take over everything.
I was going to say dominate, but I wanted to sound positive. But yeah, like you're saying, like take over everything. And then you have the other people who are more prone to keep their thoughts to themselves. I thought it was going to be one of those, but I'm really grateful to hear that people come in and kind of bond in the sessions and get what they need in a safe space. That's awesome.
Yeah. I do get the talkers and stuff. I kind of got to reel it in. I was like, hey, Let's break it in a little bit.
This is not a one-on-one session, sir.
Yeah. And it's just like we gotta chill. It's like I know you want to make a point, but it's just like let everybody else talk too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah.
Okay. My last question for you is, because we talked about, well, it's two-part. I'm going
Okay.
to ask you to do two things. One, I'm going to ask you to go into more detail about how anxiety and depression shows up in men.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to ask you, how do you feel as a clinician that we can support our loved ones who come off as mean, nasty, aggressive, just downright, I'm okay if I don't hear from you today or the rest of the week because you're out of pocket right now. Those type
Right.
of loved ones, how can we best support them?
Okay. So let me start with that. A lot of
Okay.
times it's just like we gotta meet them where they are.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's just like you also have to realize that what they're going through, it ain't got nothing to do with you.
Okay.
It's like that's them dealing with their own stuff. And you might catch it because you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason.
Okay.
And it's just like it's like a lot of times it's just like you can't take it personal. Because it's like a lot of times they're dealing with their own stuff. And, if they come up like a lot of us come up, we weren't taught how to manage our stuff. And it's just like it's easier for us to do like this and
Mm-hmm.
point the fingers and just be upset with everybody about everything. And instead of like, I'm really upset about, I didn't get enough hours, or my partner left me, or I'm going through a divorce, or I was diagnosed with cancer, I was doing with da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, and they may not want to express that to anybody, or don't know how to express with anybody. So when that comes up, somebody, instead of trying to fix it for them, ask them, how can I support you? Is there anything that I can do that might be beneficial for you? Whether it be me shutting up, whether it be me walking away, whether it be me just coming down and sitting down with you or doing your dishes for you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of those things. A lot of times it's like, it's not about you. It's the reason why they're upset or why they might be out of pocket and stuff. It might not have anything to do with you at all. And so you meet them where they are when it comes to that. The next thing is just like how anxiety and depression and stuff might show up in other folks. It's just like they might come off as standoffish, man. It's like, let me stay over here for a little bit because I don't know you. I don't know what you're going to, I don't know what your intentions are for me. And then it's a lot of times it's like you think about what we see on the news and on social media and all this type of stuff. And it's like you see people who look like us who getting hurt all the time or who are doing all this type of stuff. It's just like I don't want to be like that. So they might find they're being overly cautious. They might not be the one to strike up a conversation first off. And it's just like, it's the thing about it. It's just like people ask, like I seen, the memes about, I choose the bear every time. Like, about that type of meme. But then on the flip side of that, I'm seeing like other things. Like I see, I seen a brunch video, a bunch of black women dancing. Like the dudes are just sitting down, the women are dancing, and I hear this thing is like, why ain't the men ever talking to nobody? Why men afraid to approach women nowadays? I'm like, y'all said y'all picked the bear.
True.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's like it's one of those things. It's like, so I'm not going to approach anybody. It's like, because it's like that's the same thing. It's just like it's not out of, it's a lot of times it's that fear of rejection, it's that fear of, getting the stink eyes, it's that so many different things that go into it. And it's just like, I'm just going to stay here because this is safe for me. I don't have to worry about what I'm saying, what I'm doing, how I might act or how I might react, that's going to offend or hurt anyone, much less hurt me or myself. So I'm going to stay to myself. I'm going to isolate a little bit more. I'm going to do things just for me. So henceforth that anxiety popping up like that. So I'm anxious to go talk to somebody. So I'm going to stay right here, or I can play my game and I can talk to you through the screen. I don't got to see you in person. I don't never got to meet with you.
Right.
I can just do it right here and just play right here in my own little world. And I don't got to go anywhere else. I don't have to go out of the house. I can do DoorDash. I can do Amazon shopping. I can do all of this different type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how I'm gonna isolate myself from the world, so I don't have to worry about getting hurt in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Same thing with the depression stuff too. It's just like when you see people, just not talk to the people that they normally would talk to, not going places they would normally go to, not engaging in any activities that they would normally deal with, or they're not returning any phone calls and it's this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or you might find that they're fussing at you for no type of reason. It's like it's going to show up that way. And it's not like it's anything that you've done. It just them dealing with what they are dealing with.
Right.
I remember my house was my safe place. I didn't want to go nowhere, and I found every excuse that I could not to go. People that make excuses not to show up to places. People that make excuses or back out last minute because they're in that space where I don't want to be around people.
Yeah.
So
I get it. I agree. I think probably the only other thing I would probably mention is the irritability.
Oh, yeah.
The irritability, definitely the anger, but also I almost want to say the survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes you see people that are always grinding, always working, and it's really anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not even that. I'm not saying they don't need the money, but they could reduce their workload a lot. It's just go time because of the anxiety.
Yeah.
So
got something to prove.
Yeah. If not to yourself, to other people, unfortunately. But definitely.
Yep.
So what's your shameless, this is your moment for your shameless plug. Please let everybody know where they can find you as it relates to, where they can find you virtually. I'll say that.
Okay.
Where they can find you virtually, what you have going on, any type of merchandise you have, any type of events coming up, all that type of good stuff.
Yeah, I suck at this, but I'm gonna do my best.
That's what I was about to say. Go for what you know.
I suck at this. Ty would call me out in a heartbeat.
Ty will read it for you.
Yes, she will. She will. So you can always, if you are looking to do the men's group sessions or, hire me for speaking engagements or workshops, you can always check me out at www.thedopeblackTherapist.com. That's where you can find all my contact information there. I'm also an author, thanks to Marisha myself. She actually encouraged me to finish this book. And so I am forever, ever in your debts for this. Becoming the Dope Black Therapist. You can also find a link for that. It's on Amazon, but it's also on the website at www.thedopebblacktherapist.com. My colleague and homeboy, Lamar Whitby, and I, we're hosting a summit for Black fathers on August 24th.
Ooh.
At the Southeast Raleigh YMCA. This is an event where we're not only celebrating Black fathers, but we're also addressing our mental and physical health as well. We're going to be having blood pressure screenings there. We're going to have diabetes screenings there. We're going to have the American Diabetes Association show up. We're going to have information about how to find health care if you have Medicaid as well, courtesy of Blue Cross Blue Shield out there.
Awesome.
So that'll be one of the things that we're doing. This is a free event, folks. Black fathers, this is a free event. Did I say that it was free? Because it's free.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So you can register at www.blackfatherssummit.com. So you can register for there. If you want to be a sponsor, if you want to donate, you can also offer sponsorships. There's donations you can actually place it there as well. Or if you would like to do a breakout session, you can also do the call to present. It's all on blackfathersummit.com. So check that out there. As far as social media goes, you can hit me up on Instagram at _Dope Black Therapist, or you can find me on Facebook at G Squared Consulting and Counseling Services. I think that's all of them. I think I hit it all, Marisha. I think.
I'm in my mind. I'm going through this checklist. Like, did he say the group booking, the Dope Black Therapist, the summit? Okay.
Yep.
No, you didn't. The Blaise experience.
Oh, shoot.
You're a mental first aid trainer.
Yeah. So I'm also a youth mental health first aid instructor. I forgot about that. So I'm a youth mental health first aid instructor as well. So the Blaise experience does not have a website yet, but that's where I would do the teaching and everything through the Blaise experience as well. So we're getting to a point where we want to do more speaking engagements and more workshops and stuff. I think that's where I do some of my best work is speaking and teaching and doing workshops and stuff. So if you're looking for a teacher or speaker, definitely hit me up. We can discuss some more stuff. www.thedopeblackTherapist.com.
Awesome. Okay. What is something that you want to leave with the listeners? Like, what's the final point that you want to leave?
Oh, one more shameless plug.
Okay.
On my podcast, the Dope Black Therapist podcast, which is on all platforms, all podcast platforms. I'm going to end this final thing the way I end my podcast. You are loved, you are valued, and you are dope as hell.
Thank you. Okay. So that concludes today's dope conversation with the Dope Black Therapist. Again, I want to thank you so much for coming. And I want to thank you all for listening. Y'all have a good day.
Later.
If you've liked what you heard, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us reach more people who might benefit from these type of conversations. Also, we'd love to hear your thoughts and questions about today's episode. Reach out on Instagram at Marisha Cares or send an email to contact@callmarisha.com. Your feedback and stories are always welcome. Last, make sure you check out show notes for inspirational bonuses.